Hi, welcome to video 13. In this video, we will learn. In this video, we'll get introduction to Selenium automation, download and installing tools required for Selenium automation, introduction to Selenium Java WebDriver, downloading Chrome driver for Selenium, downloading Firefox driver for Selenium, or it is also called as Gecko driver, and identifying the right Chrome browser, and installing ChroPath for Chrome, and configuring Selenium with Java in Eclipse, and creating a Maven project with Selenium, creating first Selenium automation test, running test on Chrome and Firefox browser, writing a program for login test while locating and extracting web elements using Xpath, ID, name, and handling input box or button, and writing a program with JUnit. Undoubtedly, at least when it comes to testing in today's world, variably or invariably, Selenium has almost occupied 65%, I'm sorry, 95% of the application. There are a lot of dependencies of Selenium as well. So there are few people, let's list out. So I can go back to seleniumhq.org. That's their official site. So any documentation which we are looking for, resources which we are looking for, we can look into this. So if I look into seleniumhq.org, you just little scroll. So the first and foremost, they come as a open community so that you can also see their source code. That's where the Selenium comes. There's a lot of contribution which comes from. And as a Selenium, a lot of people in the world will use Selenium. So if you're using somebody like Browser Stack, it means you're using Selenium. If you're using Sauce Lab, it means you're using Selenium. If you're using Ranorex, it means you're using Selenium. You're using something like API, it means you're using Selenium. So invariably, all those people are the wrappers which are built on top of the Selenium. So they're not like directly, we have something called a Sauce Lab. Sauce Lab is little more enhanced version of Selenium. For example, Ranorex, one of the beautiful tools where we do mobile app testing. So they invariably use Selenium and so on. So the moment I say this Selenium, they can even fall into this category. In addition to all these things, there's another beautiful, beautiful tool which is people with Java full stack can do it, which is called as protractor. So protractor, pretty much, I'll give you a heads up of what is called as protractor in some time to understand it. So there are a list of applications which Selenium will support it. So let's have a look at this. So first and foremost, when it comes to Selenium, few things which may have to know it. So on the end, you have a Selenium. So what this guy does is it's a bundle of software. This bundle of software or a program, or we call it packages and all. The whole idea of Selenium is to help you to open a web application or mobile application or a website or whatever for that matter and do some operation. Now, what operation? That's our story for next 10 days. It does some operation. Now, what happens on the verge of making it, when you see this browser who are manufactured, every browser will have their own architecture. They'll have their own API. I can have a browser here who's called as Internet Explorer. I can have a browser who's called as a Chrome. I can have Firefox. I have Safari. I have etc. Opera, and so. Now, what happens when you try having Internet Explorer? If you want to try your application in Internet Explorer, then Selenium have to invariably go and understand Internet Explorer. So if you have somebody called, if you want to try to execute or invoke this website with the help of Chrome, then Selenium have to understand what is called as Chrome API. Likewise, Trust me, in the world, there are over like 100 plus browsers in the world. These browsers, which we try using it in day-to-day activity, they are called as headful browsers. There are other category of browsers which are called as headless browsers. So, just for an example, in our work environment, we have come across with something called as Phantom JS. So, Phantom JS is one kind of browser where it is headless browser, which does not load the DOM visibly, but it loads the DOM invisibly. So cumulatively, and of course, you have a lot of mobile browsers and so on. So now Selenium does not want to spend a lot of time and energy in their team when they build an application to understand who these browsers are. Ultimately, in the world, whenever you are trying to test, you will test a web application or you will try testing a mobile application. That's the whole idea of having it. So now I can say if you have a browser, the Selenium is not understanding or it does not even know what kind of browser you're working on. Rather, Selenium gives an opportunity for every browser manufacturer to give me or to set some piece of software which will ensure that Selenium knows which kind of browser is being used. For example, if I want Internet Explorer, then I have to go to Internet Explorer's official site to pull the software which is mapping for Selenium. Selenium, as these people keep upgrading, even these people upgrade. These people upgrade. So we have to make little choices here. So whatever there's a lot of time as a Selenium developer, we spend time in resolving this issue. So what basically I do is whenever I try downloading the Selenium, I also take the latest version of Chrome drivers, latest version of Firefox drivers, latest version of Safari drivers. So that way they resolve the problem. Or the best thing is whatever version we have it, we'll go with minus one version, just a previous upgrade, so that they are stabilized and know their intention. And in your project, if you're specific of some kind of or some version of Selenium, please do so. And you should also find there are few softwares with respect to browsers which you have to download. Now, these applications, when it comes to browsers, are called as drivers. Drivers. So when at least in our project, when we try talking, we say Chrome drivers. It is Firefox drivers, Safari drivers, Internet Explorer drivers. So these are set of the drivers. Let us first go ahead, try understanding the drivers. In the meantime, I want to also download what is called a Selenium and do it. On the verge of getting Selenium, we can get the Selenium in two versions. Download from official site. The next guy, uh, download from Maven. So when you say Maven, there is a POM dependency, which is basically there are two types. But here, when it comes to driver, there is no concept of POM and all because that's a piece of software which we have to keep it and tell Selenium, hey, look at the Selenium, we have something like this for your understanding, right? So let's go ahead and try getting few details on our web. So this is our Selenium official site. Uh, these pages keep changing regularly. So again, Selenium comes in one of the two versions. If you look at this Selenium WebDriver, so if you had seen Selenium little time ago, or like 1 year, sometime, there was no Selenium ID here. WebDriver was at this position. Here, there was something called as Selenium RC, which is probably like little legacy now. Nobody uses it testing for desktop applications. Then eventually the scope for WebDriver became so high that Selenium itself have removed out RC Selenium RC and got WebDriver, and they have Selenium ID. Unfortunately, when it comes to Selenium IDE and the latest version of Firefox, we don't support Selenium IDE. If you are using pretty old version of Selenium, a pretty old version of Firefox. Only then the Selenium IDE compatible goes with. So here you have an option to download, or you can click it here, and you have some nice documentation. Let me first right click and open the documentation in some time, and click on download here. So you have like two jobs which is working on my system. So the first and foremost, when it comes to download, you have a various implementation of Selenium. So first and foremost, the Selenium itself is a tool which is written using a programming language called Java. So today, over the course of time, what has happened? They have grown so big that they have an implementation of the same logic in C++, or I'm sorry, C Sharp, Ruby, Python, in JavaScript, and so on, right? So then you have a documentation, the nice documentation as to how to install, what kind of IDE to use it, what are the IDE features for Selenium, all those things, blah blah blah. The complete story of what is called as Selenium and the need of it. And, it's a pretty decent documentation which they have it. We'll spend some time understanding it. So here, our idea is to download it. Since we use a programming language called Java, let's stick on to this. And do you also see few pointers here? So Selenium has a standalone server, Internet Explorer driver. Look at this. They have something called as Internet Explorer driver. So this is required. If I just go ahead and try reading it here, this is required if you want to make use of latest and great features of WebDriver, Internet Explorer driver. Please make sure it is available in your path, so which you put it in percentage path percentage on the Windows. In other for IE driver, use as expected. So we have like two versions. One is for 64-bit, one is for 32-bit, where you can download it. So what we do is quickly get all the softwares which is required. So first and foremost, let me go back to the downloads. The first software which I'm looking for is called Java. So in Java, let me click on 3.12. Pretty fine. I'll click on download. So here I'll go back in C drive in online training. So here under main, I would have a folder here. Let's create a folder called as softwares. So this is where all our softwares are kept. So that's the first thing. So it's around 8.5. It's a pretty small application. So if you go ahead, try opening what is there in the Selenium, it will only contain few jar files or series of libraries, which we call it. So let's open this guy. Okay. And in the meantime, I want to also get Selenium Chrome driver. Selenium Chrome driver. So Selenium Chrome driver for, yeah, Chrome is good. So you can take the second link here. You say getting started Chrome driver for Chrome. So let's open this. You may be wanting for something like Firefox, then we will put on Google something like Firefox Selenium driver and so on. So let's have a look at the Chrome driver, which is possibly there. So here I have Chrome driver. Let me click on this guy. So here I can go back and download this Chrome driver. I click on the Chrome driver. Here, when I click on the downloads, it will take you to the latest releases. So here I should find a downloads. Let's go back. I'll also put this on our notes so as where we can get the driver. So I'll copy this. I'll copy this. So I'll put it on Notepad. So download Selenium driver. We keep getting all the drivers. So at least when it comes to our example. So here I'll go back to downloads. So I can find this guy who is under this. This is for Selenium. This is for Selenium, right? So to download Selenium, you may have to go here. To download the Chrome driver, this is the path. So let's go back and check where is this path. So that we have this path. It was loading. So obviously we have like three versions. One is for Linux, one is for Macintosh, one is for Windows 32. So this product is something which is manufactured by um, uh, Google or Chrome. It's a team of people. So here they always have Chrome driver Windows 32, but they don't have a 64-bit. The 32-bit itself is a supportive for 64-bit operating system. So let me click on this. It will ask you to save it. So let's save this guy. All right. So here I'll just create under softwares. I'll also create a folder which is called as drivers. Drivers. So I'll say this is Chrome. So likewise, I also go ahead try finding another guy who is probably Firefox. I'll say Firefox Selenium driver. Yeah, I should find it here. There's another guy who's called as Gecko driver, which is most probably for most of our discussion, this is being used. They had a GitHub repository we can use. So let's go ahead and try downloading it. So today I find it from GitHub itself. Let me just have for this. I'll also identify what operating system. This is 64-bit operating system. Depending on it, you might have to select one. So I'll go ahead, copy this guy, and paste it here. So I'll just save it on the save file. That's day 13. Here, let's call this as notes. All right. So here, I'll go back and click on 64-bit. I'll save this. Gecko driver. Okay. So now, what is this Gecko driver doing? So what happened eventually? The story was all started by Firefox itself. Then they wanted to separate this as a different team for development. Then for all the driver manufacturing team, they called it Gecko driver. So that's where the name has changed. And pretty much, if you see that in the group as well, they're part of the Mozilla. So either it is called as Gecko driver or Firefox driver, they pretty much do the similar job. So up to like 2.8 version, we called ourselves as a Firefox driver. Once after this, even 2.9 it was there. The 3x version, they completely changed it from Firefox to Gecko driver. That's where the namings have changed it. In fact, they do a whole lot of revamping of an application when it comes to Gecko driver. So let's go back and check. I'll try putting this. I just want to see it in the folder. First and foremost, the software which we had is one is called as Selenium. So let me go back and extract this Selenium right here. So we have a folder called as Selenium 3.12. I will have Selenium under 3.12. We have a list of client combined packages. Plus, there are a list of libraries. There are a whole lot of libraries which we can try knowing it. There are basically there are commons login. This is where you have JSON is there. You have HTTP client and so on. So these is the scaffolded uh, Selenium project. If you see here, I am missing with some kind of drivers. For example, I don't have Chrome driver. I don't have Firefox driver. I don't have IE driver, and so on. So for all these things, we don't trouble. Neither Selenium want to take this trouble. They say that okay, the moment you wanted to have this kind of drivers, you have an opportunity to go back to that browser and try or their official site, download the driver and intimate me. The reason is if it were like couple of browsers, Selenium would have surely did in the world. But unfortunately, number of browsers or number of technologies which you run are so much. Selenium says that that's not our job. We only suffice with the interfaces where these people define the standards. So here, uh, I have the Selenium. So moving further, under softwares, I'm sorry, in our May folder, we have a folder which is called as drivers. So again, we have got two zip folders, zip files. One is called as Chrome driver, one is called as Gecko driver. Let's go ahead and extract it. So I will select this and right click, extract it here. Sounds good. The next one is Gecko driver. I want to extract it here. So tomorrow, if you want to have the zip files for some time, I just go back and delete it. Tomorrow, if you want to have more drivers, what we do is we'll start putting it here, right? So we have a couple of things. One is the drivers. One is the Selenium software itself. That's what we did. We took the Selenium software. We have taken the drivers, and these drivers are kept in some location. Let's call it path, which we have to give it to application. Now, who is our application today? It is Java is our application. So software, what it has, software, at least here, this guy is a bundle of APIs. So he's basically a bundle of API. So which will have a jar files or some packages and so on. We'll take it from official site. Accordingly, we have also taken the software which is required. To setting up softwares for Selenium, there are a couple of things which we needed. So first and foremost, we need a Chrome browser. I assume that the Chrome browser is there. Now, you can even test this with Firefox. Firefox. I can open it, who's called as Firefox. That is another browser. So let's open this. So this could be another browser. On top of this browsers, we need few plugins or little extensions. If you are using the latest version of Firefox, if it is updated, then you don't have to take you don't have to take any updates because Firefox have stopped the development or the support of one beautiful plugin which is called as Firebug. Firebug. So here I don't know. I had a diagram. Uh, Firebug not supporting Firefox 56. I don't know how many of us have already used Firebug. Now, Firebug is a tool which will extract and give the XPath, but unfortunately, today they don't have it. So here is a similar description. Firebug 2.09 is not showing the HTML inspector CSS element, but can't show the HTML from Firefox 56th update. These people no more support what is called as Firebug. Now, what is my Firebug? For example, if I want to know the XPath of this, or if I want to know the XPath of it, or if I want to know the XPath of the button, we used to use Firebug. Unfortunately, they have stopped it. They've written a clear description here. People who are using a latest version of Firefox compared to the previous version, please make a note of this. They are supporting in very different way. They have a new version of Firefox, which is called as a developer edition. This is the whole new software to be installed. They don't have a direct Firebug kind of help. Rather, they have a developer edition. So developer edition pretty much does a good job, but not very standard now, no, which is not stable as of now. At least in our training, we're not going to use uh, Firefox to extract the XPath and all. For testing, yes, we'll use Firefox, no problem. But when it comes to extracting XPath, we have few other people where we want to use it with Chrome itself. So here I'll go back with this guy. So if you're looking for information on the web developer tools available Firefox, blah blah blah, Uh, I'm sure that Firebug. Okay, Firebug is coming to the end of its lifespan. This is where it's actually a pretty old tool when it comes to Firefox. Anybody who have used uh, Firefox for development, they would have used Firebug. Firebug is coming to an end, its lifespan, and that's where, for whatever reason, for details why, we appreciate that some people will find migrating to another uh, less familiar set of developer tools to be challenging to ease the transition from Firebug to Firefox developer tools. We've written a handy guide, so this is where the story is to go with. And in dependency of Firefox with Firebug, there was another tool who's called as Firepath. Firepath was a very, very intelligent tool, at least in my view, which used to give us the Xpath as and now you hover it. But all those things we don't have it today with Firefox. Rather, we can try using the same with Google Chrome. So there are like few nice documents which these people have written. Uh, Maybe over a course of time, we can I'll take this and put it here. I'll put it here. So Firefox does not support Firebug version 56 or quite a version. Right. So in Google Chrome, all of us make sure that when we are working on Selenium, we need a additional tool. So let's have a look at this. When you open a new tab, you see on top left corner, you see something called as apps. Apps. Let me click on this. So here you can see the list of apps which is installed on the Chrome. So if you want to install more apps, you have a button here, which is the first option, which is called as Web Store. You can click on this. This guy will pretty much open something like an App Store for Google browser. I want to look for one plugin for our development, which is called as ChroPath. ChroPath. You had Firepath. Here we have got somebody called as ChroPath. So let me open this. This is where the entire software is there. I'll also show you how it is to be done. It is already added to me in the Chrome. So for you, it will not be added to the Chrome. So it will look something like install. So you may have to click on install to get the job done. So where is this kept? I would copy the address bar, copy this guy, and give it to you. So ChroPath to Xpath. In fact, for Google Chrome, there is a default Xpath extract, right? So we have seen this, if I'm not wrong, if you just go back to any of the browsers, I'm sorry, any of the website here. So let's go back. If I want to click on the news and if I want to know what is the XPath of it, you can right click, inspect. When I click on inspect, so I can click on the inspected element and hover it on top of this guy and just click and leave it. The news, it will give you a list of DOM elements which is matching or a single DOM element. And I can right click on top of this and copy the XPath. I can copy the XPath. So here for Google page, news. This is where the Xpath is. So that's simple as this. But on the other end, if you install ChroPath, so once you install, you see here, there's a small plugin towards the right side of the elements window, which is called as ChroPath. Here, you can find it. So there are like three ways of XPath to be given. One is relative XPath, which is preferably which we kind of use it in our application development or any of the program which we develop now. The next guy is called as absolute XPath. He always starts it from the or by CSS. So in our case, we'll keep this relative XPath. So let's see if how this can help. So I can select this and click on anybody out there. So let's click on maps. So this guy should pretty much give you the XPath of it. He just gives you here, right? So I can go back and say that, okay, now I need an XPath for this guy who's a search box, just for example. So I click on this. It should pretty much give you the XPath here, right? So that's where the entire use of ChroPath will come in. So I find this is one close handy which we had for Firepath. So whatever your Firepath is doing it, your ChroPath is pretty much doing the same. So this is where we have the softwares. First and foremost, the Selenium, so which itself is here under softwares. So what I do is I will just take this Control X and under softwares I put it perfectly fine. So what I do is this folder for some time I'll delete it, which is not required. Sounds good. So I have a set of jar files and some libraries which are neatly designed. So let's go back to our Eclipse for writing some program and understanding it. So here I would select this project, whatever we have done till now. I'll go to project and click on close so that this guy does not trouble me every time. So there'll not be any confusion for the files between multiple projects. So I just want to go back and create a new uh, Java project. Java project. I should find Java project. If not, I click on. You always have the first option until you have the perspective. In case if you don't find, again, you just go back to this guy. Where we say Java project. So here, let's click on next. So here, I'll say Selenium works. Any project name. Let's say next and finish. This guy creates a new application, new project, which is Selenium with GRE system library and all. So at the same time, I want to put our own library. Our library, which is put, is kept under software. So let's go back and close this for some time. So there are a lot of one is software. So under softwares, we have it. So what we have to do is we have to tell Selenium, hey, look at the Selenium, the list of jars or list of files which you're looking for, the application development is here. So in order to get this here, right click on the project. You have an option which is called as build path, configure build path. So this is where you can go ahead and put the jar files. So one of the jar library which you have got, which is called as Selenium, I'm sorry, JRE, which is already there. Now we want to put a new library or a path which is called Selenium. So what we can do is let's create a nice folder to wrap it here. So what I do is I can directly go ahead and put add external jars, but I want to put add library. Add library. Let's do this. Add library. One of the library which we want to do is you have a JUnit library, you have Maven library, you have server runtimes. Server runtimes are basically come into picture where you want to have Apache Tomcat, Oracle WebLogic, IBM WebSphere. So there are like web servers which are application servers which you want to keep it near. development. Or you have somebody called as user library. That's our own library where you can put Selenium library or whatever. So I can check any user libraries are there. As of now, I don't have any libraries. Let me click on user library. So here I have the entire story of user library. Since I don't have anything, let's click on new. I call this as Selenium library. Library. Let's say okay. So this is the library. Let's put external jars, some jars file into this. I click on this. The jars which I'm looking for here is in Selenium. I'm sorry, it's in the under softwares. We need these two people. So first and foremost, then we'll go back. So we have got two people. I can go back, add jars. I'm sorry, this is add external jars. So here under softwares again, there's a lib. I just do Control A. Not everything is required, but it's good to have it as of now. I'll say OK, finish, apply. Okay. So if you look at this, on one end you have somebody called as JRE system library. On the other end you have Selenium library. This guy will have its own dependencies for that matter. As and now you need more libraries, you can go ahead and put this in the same fashion. How do we do it? So we'll right click on the project, go to build path, configure build path. If I want to directly post it, you can add external jars here. If not, you can add the library. So if you want to directly put external jars, let's click on this. Probably in our discussion, we may need MySQL because we want to hit or get the data for our automation from MySQL database and keep doing it repeatedly. For that, I use MySQL. Look at this, how cleanly it happens. I'll say apply and OK. So on the left hand side, I have like few dependencies out there. So first and foremost, GRE, Selenium, reference library. Under reference libraries, if you explore it, one happens to be MySQL. Now this is where we can get the dependencies of every application or every uh, software which is required. So now there's one way to get it. There's another way. So I'll just collapse this project. I want to show you both the ways. The second one is more effective. So I want to create a Java project. I'll say this time I'll say Selenium works with Maven. So that's a Maven project. So in order to make this as Maven project, you can create a project, right click. You have an option which is called as configure. Under configuration, you can click on Maven project. You can convert the existing project to Maven project. I'll go back and I'll say Selenium works. So preferably group name looks like a package name. I'll say com dot selenium dot uh, works. Perfectly fine. And the packaging type, let this be jar itself. I click on finish. So it takes little time, and once it converts and gives us a file which is called as a pom.xml, which is your project object model, where all the dependencies which are required can go here. So this is what it looks like. On the bottom right corner here, I have pom.xml. You can go ahead and click on this. This guy will give you all the dependencies under the project at the class path level. You should also find a file which is called as pom.xml. So here I want to get the dependencies. Now, first and foremost, when I need the dependencies of Selenium, I really don't remember where these people have recorded the Selenium path, the Maven path of Selenium, but I can quickly go ahead and do a Google check. So here, here I can go ahead and do a google.com. Let us try getting it. Selenium. The current version which we want is 3.12. You can look for Maven. Maven. Just post it in Maven. So here it most probably gives you this link, which is 3.12 dependency. I also see there is somewhere like Maven written here. I'll just click on this page and also try showing it if there is something called Maven under downloads. Yeah. I just do Control F and look for Maven. Yeah, so that's pretty nice thing. So below is where you can find the latest releases of Selenium components. You can also find the list of previous releases, blah blah blah. For Maven users, this is where. So I can even click on Maven here or the Maven here. So here you have the complete story of it. That's a pretty clean thing. So here, if you're using Maven, you will find Selenium Maven artifacts directly in the central Maven repository. This is where the repository which is kept. And if you're looking for the dependency, you can have it. So let me open this also to show it to you. And this is what the dependency which you are planning to copy it. I'll right click, copy. So here, anyways, I'll paste it for some time. I put dependencies. So here, I'll paste it. The moment I say control yes, so the moment I say save, on the bottom right corner, if you see, it says building workspace with 83%. So eventually, all the jars which are required will get downloaded and kept on our system. So let's see. It takes little time because the previous version which I was working was 3.11. So now they have upgraded to 12. And these updates, they keep releasing it. Every fortnight, there is a new update. Every fortnight. Trust me. So that's where these people come across. So once it is downloaded, on the left-hand side, you see there's something called as Maven dependencies. There's a whole list of dependencies which gonna come. So whatever you try taking it, uh, they have it. Plus, I would prefer this time to go with somebody called as Maven. If you look at this, there are the implementation of Selenium, Firefox, Edge driver, Chrome driver, everything these people have done. And what jars it is there? Obviously, we have a central repository here just to have a look at that as a list of jars which are kept here. So if I just click here, this is where the Selenium basic to basic Selenium will contain. It also has internally few things which we are not discussing. Let me just give you a little heads up on this. There's somebody called as Jetty. Now, what happens if you want to have somebody as Selenium with language called Java? On the other end in the world, you have a browser. So, if you want to load a browser with Selenium, in reality, it does not happen. That does not happen at all because Selenium packages, when you try writing it, are core packages. They have nothing to do with web packages. But for some reason, if you want to load the browser, they belong to which part. In that case, you need some kind of web application to load it. So there are a lot of people in the market who come into help. One is called as Tomcat. A lot of company use it. WebLogic. This guy is from Oracle. WebSphere. WebSphere. You have JBoss. JBoss is from Red Hat team. You have Glassfish. In addition to all these things, there's a team which is called as Jetty. You know? Jetty is the lightweight application or web server. What these people have done is when you go ahead and download Selenium, internally they will also have Jetty server. So that when you want to load a browser, the browser loading will eventually happen. This is actually wrapped between Jetty, right? So that they just act as a web server for every browser to be opened or any job which you want to do it on the browser. Now this Jetty is now it was done by somebody called Jetty itself, but now it is all maintained by Eclipse team. So Eclipse has grown so big, they have taken a lot of products and taking it. At least in the near future, there's a discussion that even Oracle as a company doesn't want to maintain Java. Eclipse is bidding for getting Java on the openware platform, so that eventually over the course of time, whenever we need Java, we don't have to go to Oracle official website. It will be part of Eclipse community, or it will be from user community. They are pretty big, players in the world where they maintain a lot of softwares. One happened to be Jetty. So hope that makes sense. And you have like a whole lot of other softwares which are basically your drivers and so on, right? Selenium RC is there, which is called as a remote client, which probably we are not using it anywhere. I don't see any of the company are using it these days. So that's where you also have the Android drivers. If you see here, that they have some nice Android client, Android drivers, and so on. All right. So that's where we have the Maven information, which is coming from. Okay. So if I go back to Eclipse here under Eclipse, so you have a whole lot of dependencies, what is required. In addition, you want something called as MySQL. So what I can do is I can go back to this guy and ask somebody, okay, hey, can you give me MySQL connector Java Maven? Uh, this guy should give me one of the dependencies. I don't want like 6 version. I've not tried using it anytime. This is perfectly fine. Like 5.12 or 5.16 is pretty nice. So I just click on it, and here I select this guy, copy this, and paste it here. Save it. The moment I save in my Maven dependencies, if I just go back and I should find somewhere MySQL. Yes, I have MySQL connector. So they pretty much do a job. Good job. And for all the purpose of logging, when it comes to Selenium, you have like various mechanisms to take it. So I would just take Commons IO, Commons IO, some version like 2.4. We can still get the Maven dependency if I'm not wrong. 2.4 perfectly fine. It has helped me to get it. 2.4. So why we need Commons IO? Commons IO is to write all the logs on your console. So Selenium internally use Commons IO. I don't know. I did not check. Commons IO was there. Commons IO was pretty much not there. So that's one reason, I copied this. So hope this is okay. So when I save it, the moment you just save it, you find a Commons IO getting it. Commons IO getting it. So we have a few dependencies. One happened to be Selenium itself. One is MySQL connector. One is Commons IO, which is basically for logging it. Is that good enough? If you do this much, it means your project is ready. The boilerplate is ready. We are good to go now. So here, what we have done is something like this. We went to Selenium's official site, which is Selenium HQ. We have a project here. In our project, we have taken the dependencies. So let's call it API. Likewise, we have also taken it from MySQL. You want it for Commons IO. Every API which you want is kept here. That's the whole idea of having it. Is that good? So the end user comes, hits it here. But now we have to open some browser, right? You have to open some browser. There will be a lot of browsers. You have to open these people who are browser. Let's consider this is Chrome. The Chrome itself has got a driver. Where have we kept? We have kept it somewhere in the system. So where is it? If you just go back and look at that, here under drivers, we have got two drivers. One is Chrome driver and Gecko driver. So it is here I'll copy this and just put it here. Okay. Okay. This is where we have kept the drivers. Perfect. Fine. But how can I make the API? Because ultimately we have got APIs, blah 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 is good. So how can I make my program understand this? We have some special property which we can use it in Java. The good thing about, of course, most of the programming languages today support it. Of course, Java is also one another. If you have an operating system, in the operating system, you have some commands. You want environment variables. You can put and get the commands from any programming language. So that's what you can do. So what I can do is I can make use of operating system terminal commands and tell this, hey, look at this Java, use this OS commands to get this path, which is a Chrome driver, or tomorrow I might need a Firefox driver, or I may need some other driver in the world. So all these things are pretty much kept there. Go ahead and get it. But now, when you try getting it, the path should not be just a path. Rather, the path should also have a key. So there's a two value involved. One is this path, obviously drivers where you have your Chrome drivers or Firefox drivers or whatever. It will also include something called as key, and it will also have value associated. So when I try saying something called as key, I cannot go ahead and put any value for that matter. I have to look, there is some amalgamation code between Selenium and the browser providers. So now let me go back. I will go back to this program, just close it. So here under source, I'll create a package. I'll say com.html. Let's call this as basics. Basics. Right. So here, let's go back and create a class. So which is called as test O1, which is the first program, which is the first test. So here I'll have main method. So now my main method will have the starting point. Eventually, this program will change it to JUnit because that's where we want to head ourselves. And a setting of driver should happen here. So first and foremost, we have to, okay, let's also make a list of things what we do. Now, there are few to-dos, to-do one. So first and foremost, I have to set the path, right? Uh, the next is to-do two is uh, load the driver. So when I say load the driver, it means you are loading Chrome driver or Firefox driver or IE driver, whatever, right? The third one is the third to do is open the browser. The to do four is perform operation on the browser. To do five is close the browser. Hope this makes sense. These are five jobs which you have. It's something like database. In database, what we do is we'll open the connection, do the operation, close the connection. Open the connection, do the operation, close the connection. In similar fashion, so here we will set the path. The setting path for this page we will do it. For this program we'll do it. But eventually, over the course of time, we will create some nice way of approach which will help us to reuse the code. That's the whole idea of doing it. So first and foremost, set the path. Now, just before this, I want to create a variable which is an interface variable, which is called WebDriver. So WebDriver is an interface which comes from open r.openqa.selenium. The good thing about Selenium is every file, every packages, or every interface enumeration which you want, they're all found in this OpenQA.Selenium. They have a very, very clean package structure. The moment you say org.openqa, that is Selenium. There are a lot of tools which people have tried writing it, they have mixed up, but Selenium have got one of the cleanest package naming convention. I want to have something called as a driver. So just a variable name. Now I want to set the path. So I have, when I say set the path, I have to tell, I have to tell this application where is Chrome, right? So here, how do we set the system property? You can pretty much do it of setting property in the program, or what you can do is you can go back to your environment variable. I'm sure that we remember that in your computer, this PC, advanced system settings, environment variable. Here I have to put it under the path. I have to go back and edit it. Here I have to put this path, which is called driver and all those things. You can do this. One of the two ways. But I don't prefer to do it in an environment variable because it differs from system, application to application. Sometimes we may need Firefox, sometimes we need Chrome, and so on. Preferably, I want to keep it in the program. So I'll say system set property. Set property. You also have somebody called as properties, which will take a array of properties. The property itself is again a key value pair. Rather, I want to set only one property, which will take two parameters. This is where it gets interesting. So one is key, one is value. I should find drivers. This is the first driver. I'll copy this. The second parameter is the path. Backslash backslash. This is Chrome driver.exe. Right? So since in Windows we don't support single backslash, which is an escape sequence, I want to give it like backslash backslash. So this is where the path is. But now, what is the key of it? What is the key of it? Let's go ahead and try understanding what is the key of it. Here, I'll say Selenium, Chrome. Okay, so here it is. So I'm just trying to go to official site. Let me click on this guy. So Chrome driver.chromium. Let's get started. So here you have a simplest implementation of Java. So this code is they pretty much give the code for most programming language wherever they support it. This is where the whole idea is. You want to have the WebDriver, which is a Chrome driver, and you may have to load it. Just before all this job you can do it, look at this. You have a nice line here which says system dot set property. Set property path to the Chrome driver. We know where this path is kept. We have already typed it. But what I'm looking for is Chrome dot WebDriver dot Chrome dot driver. This is where we are looking for. I just copy this. I'll right click and copy this. Okay. So once I copy this guy, let us go back. Let us go back and paste it here. So what happens? Selenium internally will look for the property called as WebDriver for the Chrome. The driver information is kept here. That's what the whole idea is. Is that good? So once if this is done, be very cautious. Once if this is done, the second step is I have a driver which is just a variable. Let's say driver is equal to new Chrome driver. New Chrome driver. That's the second step. Once after this, I want to know the URL where I have to go to open the browser. So just as a good practice, I want to create a variable which is called as string, something called as URL is equal to http colon forward slash msn.com. That's my browser which you want. The next step is perform operation. What operation you want to do with open browser? And I'm sorry, driver dot get. So you should say get to open the URL. So eventually, over a course of time, this part, step 4, will be as complicated as you want. But as of now, just to give little heads up, I want to have string uh, website title is driver dot get title. Application is website title. So finally, what we do is driver dot quit to make sure it is closed. The only place or a course of time where we want to make it more jazzy, more workable is step 4. These steps will never get changed. In fact, over a course of time, we will not even write this. We will all hide it from our implementation program. We will refactor it in other places. Let us go back and check if things go well. Run as Java application. So it should open a browser. It should go to msn.com and get me a title. Yes, it has opened msn.com. Okay, the title of the web application is MSN India Breaking News, Entertainment, Latest Videos and Outlook. That's where the title comes into picture. So maybe it did very fast. In case if you want to give some delay, I can say thread dot sleep. So let's give like about 3 seconds. So I just want to surround it with a try catch block. And just before I could quit, I want to wait for 3 seconds so that you will see what is happening in the system. Perfectly fine. So it is waiting for 3 seconds. It's not doing anything. Once the DOM is perfectly fine. So it is waiting for 3 seconds. Then it is giving you the output. So this is all about the Chrome driver. But in similar fashion, we can go ahead and try taking for Firefox driver. So here, the path information which you want to give is webdriver.gecko.driver. So this is the path for our Firefox driver. As we have for Chrome driver, we have it for Firefox driver. What I do is I just select this and comment off for some time. I'll say first is system dot set property is this, which I've just copied. The value happened to be here, the same path, and this is called Gecko Gecko.exe. Makes sense. All right. So this guy should now set the path for Gecko driver, which is a Firefox driver. Then I'll say driver is equal to new Firefox. Makes sense. So hope this should be okay. Let's go back and right click run as application. So this guy should open pretty much in Firefox. So this is working all in Firefox. It also has a lot of documentation here and there to do it, but yes, we are interested here. All right, there's a lot of debug information. This is how we can work around with any of the browser Now, either it is Chrome browser or it is Firefox or anybody for that matter. I want IE browser or Opera, Safari, whatever for that matter. Now, we tried executing the first program in our Selenium. Let's create a class. So let's consider something called as test or login test. Just want to do a little bit of login test. So here, let's have a main method. The pretty similar stuff what we have done. I want to go with this browser. So I will copy this guy and put it here. So the same old Chrome browser story comes here. Because I want to get rid of comments. And we want one more variable, which is called as WebDriver driver. Makes sense. This is perfectly fine. The Chrome driver, just hover it and import it. This is good enough. So now what we want to do is we want to pretty much do a simple job where there is a web application. The web application has login. I have probably somebody like username, password. Click on submit. Right here, I have an end user who comes and uses Selenium. Selenium will pretty much go and do the job for me. And on the verge of it, you want this to be done multiple times. That's a different story. No, we may have to little integrate our parameters with the Excel. I'm planning to do it with the POI um, database or hard-coded values, whatever. No? But the idea behind writing is this. So let's go back. So we want to figure out what is this guy, who is this guy, what do I click? That's what we want. So here, uh, first and foremost, I want to record my login page. The login page which I have created for the purpose of testing is navinks.com/web/loginform.html. That's this were a simplest login form which I have got it. So you can enter the username, password. You can click on remember me or not to remember me and click on login. So it doesn't do any business logic as of now. For testing it, for validating it, I'll give you another form which can do pretty good job. But as of now, let's just to get started. I'll select this, right click, copy. I'll minimize this. Here I can say string URL is equal to this. This is what my URL is, right? So then I have to say driver dot get the URL. So we are pretty much loading it. I'm just not writing to do everywhere. So I hope that is self-explanatory. Maybe if you don't like to see this, I can delete this. So there's a first step, second step, and third step. The fourth step is actual job too. So what I want to do is I have to go to the site. I have to go to the site and I have to identify what is this text element. So in order to get this, I'll right click, inspect. So when I click on inspect, if you would like to have ChroPath, perfectly fine enough. If not, you will always have the path right here. So there's like a shortcut for you. So I'll click on the inspector. I click on this guy whom you want to enter it. Just leave it. Here, it gives you various ways. The first and foremost, ChroPath will give you some text. Let me copy this. Let me copy this. Go back. This is the login page. This is the first path which we got it from ChroPath. The next guy, I can extract the same details. You see there is somebody called as highlighter here. I can right click, copy, Xpath. This is another way for doing it. Let's paste it. What does it give? It gives pretty much the same thing. Let's explain this by Chrome element. or we want to quickly have a look at this. We say that, okay, now we don't have to really understand what is called as ChroPath, neither we want to inspect it here by elements. At least when it comes to me, the first thing what I do is quickly have a look at this. You have like two possible ways of accessing this guy. One is either with the ID, which is here, or either one with the username. So anything is good. Either you want to go with ID or name. So here, let's get this rolling in. So first and foremost, you can get it by ID, or these are few possibilities which you have to locate to the element in the web application, right? So let's see what does this do. So it says ChroPath says anywhere. Say if you could just recall the Xpath the discussion which we had, the forward slash meaning anywhere in the document. Input type, I'm looking for an ID which has got an attribute. At the rate is attribute. ID is equal to uname. Or this says look anywhere, any field, the ID is uname. The whole idea here is when the developers go ahead and try developing an application, they ensure that the ID is unique in the page so that just to avoid the confusion, no other reason. If you try having ID repetitively in the page, Selenium behaves very weirdly. Again, I explain this because they all do some kind of dumb parsing. Or the moment you look at this, oh, I see there's something called ID. Let's go ahead with ID or with the name or with the CSS class. Anything is fine. Anything is fine. Right? We're not got into the CSS styling and all. But anyways, as of now, we can choose any one of it. So in all the three cases, I prefer to go with the ID. ID happens to be uname. For this, I say, hey driver dot find element by by you have various options here. Look at this class name, CSS selector, ID, link text, name, partial link text, tag name, XPath, blah blah. So we know we want to select it by ID. Gonna select it ID. So what is my ID? Uname. So what I want to do is I want to clear first. So once I want to clear on the same field, I want to go ahead and send the keys in character sequence, which is username. I'll say something like sample at exam.com. Right? The next guy here is a password. So here, what does it give? It gives password, which is PWD. I'm gonna copy this driver dot by ID PWD dot clear. You don't have to clear it always, but it's a good practice. Set keys. Oh, secret. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. The next guy who's gonna come in the world is your submit button or your login button, whatever you call it here. So it has got submit BTN. That's what the value ID is. I'm gonna copy this. You don't have to clear it because clear does not make any sense here. Driver dot find element by ID dot click. Then just to thread dot sleep for some time, like 2 seconds. Then driver So here I will probably surround it with a try-catch block. So hope this should be okay. So now I can go ahead and quit it. So that's our last step. Let's run this Java application. Mhm. So it puts two values, clicked on it, just click quit it. It is as simple as it. But eventually, with our programs or what we want to do it, we'll not use a main method. That's absolutely a bad practice. Nobody does it in the world. So let these two programs be in this package. We're not going to use this furthermore. So I just want to stop this for some reason. Rather, what we do is we'll collapse it under SRC. Let's create a new source folder. A source folder. Let's call this as uh, something like tests. Tests. Where all our tests will go here. So the same program, we want to convert it test. So just go back and create it as a test. That's where the whole idea is. So create a new JUnit case, JUnit case. We use JUnit 4. That's what we've been using it. The package name, let's give it. Let this be basics, which is introduction. Uh, I'll say com dot dot basic tests. So here, let's consider it as the first program, login test, perfectly fine. So we want to add it to build path. Yes. Okay. So that on the left hand side, you will see JUnit 4 also coming in. So there are like a lot of dependencies of JUnit. So this is our test. I don't want to have the test case here, but we want to build it everything from the scratch to understand it much better for our login test. So in the login test, this is our second program. Here it is first program. So let me keep this guys side by side for understanding. For understanding. So I have login test 2 and I also have login test 1. Uh, let's have a method. So here we have like few jobs which we have to quickly identify. So first and foremost, so the actual test case, I'll say public void. Let's call it login test, which does not take any parameter, and we'll make sure that this guy is annotating test. So when I say annotate this with test, this meaning this will be a test case. In addition, we need two more methods. We have identified few jobs we want to do it before the actual job execution and few jobs which we want to do it after the test execution. So first and foremost, one is public void setup. Setup. So this guy whose setup will pretty much help you to put the business logic which you want to have before the test case can execute. So here I can have before. So this is where the before comes in. The next guy is public void tear down. Now again, the method names, you can please have it anything of your choice. There's no hard and fast rule. I'm just trying to follow some convention after. So what is your after doing it? So if you import from JUnit, this is where the good JUnit test case can occur. Like you can have one test case, you can have multiple test case. I can have hundreds of test case in the same. The whole idea of having before and after is these people will take the load out of the test to making sure that no utility jobs are done here. It's only a test case job. The utility jobs can be done, taken care here. So on the verge of it, we need few variables. We have identified the variable. One is called as WebDriver. So WebDriver, the name is called driver. So the idea here to declare it outside is I'll be using driver variable here, here, here. So that I don't have to declare only within the block of code so that the scope will be limited. That's the first thing. The next is uh, I want to have string UI. right? So let's go back to before. We know that this guy will surely execute. So we want to set few things. So here, these two things, I just copy it and set up. That's the first thing which you, okay. So in the setup, you will load the driver and create the instance of the driver. Then you will also set, it's a good place to do it. It's a good place to do it. I'll say, uh, I'm sorry, URL is equal to, we have already got this URL, copy this and paste it. Hope this makes sense. So here is your URL. I have seen many people writing the statement driver.get either in the before, or that can be the first statement of test. Anything is fine. No, there's no hard and fast rule. You may have to refer to your project, individual project. There may be some conventions people would have followed. So I just prefer to write it here, which will be the first line of your implementation. This is a good place, I feel. Then the implementation is here. I'll just copy this guy and put it here. So business logic are taken care. The final step is your try block with sleep and quit. So where do you want to quit? You want to have it with a tear down. Tear down is your quitter. So let's close the existing work which you had done previously and invoke this one, the JUnit test case. Let's have a look at this program. So first and foremost, we want to do setup. We want to do a tear down and login test. You also want to have timeout, whatever. You can just do control space here. You can look for, if you're looking for any exception, you're looking for a timeout, anything can be put here, right? So let's go back and try executing it. Right click, run as JUnit. Great. So it's working, I believe. Yes, the ChroPath is loading. Perfectly fine. So it has worked. Let's go back and check our. We have not done any asserts as of now. Let's not be very particular. All right. So this is the console, and we have this. It took like 18 seconds for execute. So there are quick heads up which we wanted to do it. First and foremost is at the before we tried writing too much of code, which we really don't have to do it. Just for an instance, imagine if I have like 500 different test cases to be written. Do we have to really write this code 500 times or not? That's the first thing. The next is there's a very high chance that people might commit a mistake here. So just one typo here, everything is ruined out. And if you have like 500 or thousands of test cases, everywhere making a change is so painful. So let's start writing a little better code than what we have written now to ensure that things are cleanly fabricated. So I also create in my SRC package here, a package which is called as utilities. So I create a package, let's say com utilities. So here under utilities, let's make some good note of what is called as properties. I just want to extract this and keep it here. I want to have a new class or an even an interface because it's only a constant which we are planning to declare it. I would say driver. The driver pretty much will have string chrome key ChroPath, Firefox key, Firefox path, and so on. Any key and value which you want, you can go ahead and put it here. So first and foremost, I just want to take this guy who's a Chrome driver for key, which is here. And the value is right here. I'll copy this value and put it here. So when it comes to our Firefox, I'm sure that we have written it in our example one. Here, we can copy WebDriver.Gecko.driver. I'll copy this on the driver. So here in test 01, let's copy this. I'll copy this and put it here. Great. So it's like one-time job which you have to do it, and most of your applications would have already done this. Then if I go back to login test, I don't have to really enter these codes. So enter these codes. Rather, we can utilize the codes written here. So this will be driver.chrome key, driver.chrome path. Absolutely fine. So if you use it anywhere, just one change in that file will reflect here, and pretty much working is same. Okay, it puts the data, clicks on submit, and exits. Perfectly fine. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.